It's really nice to see thematically appropriate Bowser boss fights in this game. Mario 64 had 3 pretty good stages for the time, although I'd argue the only one I actually liked thematically speaking was the second one because it was a lava stage. And while Mario Sunshine had Corona Mountain, it was a quick one and done, and the boss fight involved Bowser in a hot tub. So yeah. Over here, I feel like the Bowser, and Bowser Jr. stages for that matter, thematically fit the part, and they not only do a good job modernizing the Bowser stages, they even do a pretty good job paying respects to the old ones in a variety of ways. That being said, much like everything else in Super Mario Galaxy, the boss fights can be pretty hit or miss, the challenge to actually get through the stage can be hit or miss, and the stage gimmicks could be hit or miss. But hey, thematically it works. In any case, let's quickly break it all down and get the final stars remaining to get to 120. First up is Bowser Jr.'s Robot Reactor. We'll be taking on the Megaleg on its moon. Seeing as how this is the first of the major boss fights in the game, you can expect challenges similar to what you experienced in the Terrace. The big gimmick over here is that you will be guiding bullet bills everywhere you need to go. They will conveniently start you off on a small planetoid where you can guide a bullet bill towards a launch star in order that you can get a little bit of practice with the mechanic. This thing's massive, so really what you gotta do is climb up its leg, have the bullet bill follow you all the way up to the top, sneak between the gates and the different obstacles, and have it blow up the cage to grant you access towards the star. Admittedly, after the first hit, there will be a rotating fence surrounding the star, which means you're probably going to have to guide a handful of bullet bills until you're finally able to get one to crack open a fence, and then take another one to make it through the fence before that part of the fence gets rebuilt. This is much easier said than done, and I think it's a lot of fun. Let's move on to the next one. Bowser's Star Reactor with the mission of the Fiery Stronghold. The first thing I noticed on this one was the airships out in the distance, and the road made up of these segmented blocks that remind me of the classic games. After getting past the opening area, you get to a gravity gimmick that goes up and down in a 2D plane. After that, you're basically just dodging a bunch of rotating fireball sticks, and then you get to the iconic checkered pathway, dodge a bunch of the molten fire rocks that Bowser is sending towards you, and you get a pretty cool cutscene with Bowser's hair flailing that reminds me of the way the tentacle of the giant blooper flailed in Mario Sunshine. You face off against Bowser a few times in this game, and every single time it's the same type of fight. His primary attacks are going to be ground pounds that send out shockwaves that you gotta dodge, and you'll want to lure him into one of the circular pads to burn his tail so that it can run around flailing. You gotta catch up to him, give him a spin attack on his tail, and it'll flip him over and make him roll around the planetoid until you can smack him again. The amount of times he jumps for shockwaves or the amount of times he spits out fireballs with you after he gets hit can vary depending on which Bowser fight you're doing and which hit you're on. I think this makes for a very good first Bowser fight in the game, basically the second major boss fight, but in a similar manner to Mario 64, it does get repetitive pretty quickly. Thankfully, both in Mario 64 and here in Mario Galaxy, they give you a stage to run through, so it can kind of subside a little bit of that repetitiveness. But yeah, let's move on to the next one. Bowser Jr.'s Airship Armada. We're sinking the airships, folks. This feels like a fun, modernized version of the airship levels from Mario 3. Well, gameplay-wise, it feels nothing like them, but the idea is there. You basically jump from ship to ship, taking on different types of challenges and making it your way to the cannon so you can blast off to the next one. Eventually, you'll make it to a platform with a switch on it, and it'll turn it into a little bit of an auto-scroller. You'll have to dodge cannonballs, hanging spiders, and that's pretty much it. And your final obstacle before making it to the actual fight is to defeat a Magic Koopa and take a launch star and get up on the final ship you're meant to get to. Herein awaits you, Bowser Jr. This is not too dissimilar to the fights against Camelot in that you're going to grab a green shell and you're going to fire it towards Bowser Jr. The green shell is in the form of a Koopa that's walking around that you'll just have to quickly smack so you can grab its shell. He'll throw in a Magic Koopa in there to slow you down a bit. Eventually he'll rotate and fire some projectiles at you. But more importantly, when he rotates, it'll make the target smaller because you don't actually have to hit Bowser Jr., you just gotta hit the ship that he's standing on. It's a decent fight. I don't have too many complaints about it. And similar to the previous Bowser Jr. fight, the stage as a whole kinda teaches you how to do everything before you get to the end. Believe it or not, I got knocked down to one hit before I had to go hunting for some coins in the area, and that was with the double health mushroom too. I guess between Magic Koopa and bullet bills and the flame cannonballs that Bowser Jr. was firing at me, it did get a little bit challenging. So far so good. 3 boss fights, 3 successful ones in my opinion, and the stages are decent too. Next up is Bowser's Dark Matter Plant, Darkness on the Horizon. I might be speaking too soon, but I am pretty sure this is my favorite one of the bunch. For the most part, it throws you back into another 2D segment, only this time the gravity gimmick goes in multiple directions. The whole challenge here is knowing which side and which part of the different platforms you need to stand on in order to make sure that when you go through the change in gravity, you don't fall off. I feel like I've played a lot of games where this gimmick's been done, and I enjoy it pretty much every time. Since these platforms are more or less scrolling at their own pace and not at your own, you gotta think pretty quickly as to where to jump. Also, the last portion does the dark matter thing where the platforms randomly disappear and have gaps in them. It's one of my favorite gimmicks in the entire game, but I think it was done better in the Ghost level and in the Small Galaxy. But prior to making it to Bowser, you get to one more 2D section with all these weirdly shaped platforms. And this one is actually a little bit harder than the previous one. Once again, this is another really good Bowser stage. It's a really good stage in general, to be honest. And so far, 4 of these boss stages in, it's consistent with the idea that the small galaxies provide more of a challenge in this game than the large galaxies do, which makes it a little bit more lame when you take on Bowser once again, and it's pretty much the same fight with a few obstacles in the way, and he'll just do a few more attacks. But ultimately, I can appreciate this level for the stage regardless of the repeated fight. Plus, Bowser will do a spin attack, and it'll be a little bit harder to lure him into slamming onto the right areas. So maybe I'm being a little bit harsh in saying that it's a repeated fight, but it kind of feels the same. Either way, that's 4 down, let's move on. Next up, we have Bowser Jr.'s Lava Reactor, and it's another fight against King Caliante. I think I'm a bit more indifferent about this one. The challenge it gives you is similar to the first Bowser Jr. one, where it starts you off on a planetoid and you have to guide a bullet bill to crack open a shell to give you the launch star. And then after that, it's a bunch of tennis matches with octopi as you smack their coconuts back onto them. And it's also just a slightly harder variation of King Caliante fight. The platform you stand on starts to sink if you stay on it too much, so you gotta move around a lot more. He'll shoot more flame projectiles at you before sending over the coconuts. I guess with the sinking platforms, you do gotta keep moving around a lot more, and that does distract you quite a bit. But I don't know, I'm not really feeling this one. Not in the actual stage, nor the boss fight. It just feels too repetitive to what came before. It's not bad, I would just expect more to earn myself a grand star. Especially one this late in the game. Every dome has a Bowser or Bowser Jr. fight except for the garden. And that's because you're not supposed to go to the garden. So technically you can go defeat Bowser right when you get to 60 stars. I waited until I hit the max amount that I could before getting purple coins, and then I went and defeated Bowser. And then after I defeated Bowser, there was a timer that said there was 15 stars remaining. I grabbed all of the purple coins so I can get those 15 stars, and then I made my way back to Rosalina to repeat the fight once again. Because those of you who have played this game know that that's the only way to actually reach full completion. Well, full completion of the first half of the game. But I'll get to that. Can I say that the sight of the Comet Observatory transforming when you speak to Rosalina is one of the coolest cinematics in this game, and maybe even most of 3D Mario. It turns this serene, peaceful hub world into something of nightmares, like a giant spear ready to take anything down along its path, and Rosalina drives it straight into the center of the universe, passing by all of Bowser's airships and destroying everything along its path, making it towards Peach's castle. She notifies Mario that there is a warp field inside the castle, and Mario makes his way towards this segment of Wii's Rainbow Road and enters Peach's castle. And the warp takes you to Bowser's Galaxy Reactor, the fate of the universe. The backdrop is a giant star, except it's got a bunch of holes in it like it's a planetoid from level 1. The first area here isn't all that difficult. There's a spotlight you gotta jump between as you dodge different fireballs. That spotlight carries your gravity towards where it's shining. It gets fun for me when you get to the lava portion, which is basically just a miniature star that you have to run through to get to the next segment. After that, you run through this icy platform that's being constructed as you run through it. It takes place over a blue star this time. I'm assuming that means it's a cold star. Jump through, you get to another fiery one where you gotta do a little bit more careful platforming to dodge all the obstacles, primarily spinning fireball sticks, and doing your best to remain on the platforms. Finally, you get to a 2D section that has platforms that are being built as you traverse through it, and they will include wall jumping sections as well as gravity change segments. So far, it's exciting. You can feel the intensity of the moment. There's a lot to love about everything you just did. You'll be excited to take on Bowser. But then you take a gravity lift to this next area. I am not exaggerating when I say that this, for me, is the most aesthetically pleasing challenge of the entire game. I don't even know if I can describe how good it looks. You can see it in front of you. The way the air ripples because of how hot everything is, the lava all around you in every direction, the giant menacing looks on not only the bullet bills but the thwomps as well. I am not exaggerating that the first time I saw this sight, I made this view my laptop background. Heck, I used this view for the thumbnail of this very video. When the Nintendo Wii released, everybody knew it was weaker than the competition. Friends would laugh that the Wii is basically just two GameCubes duct taped together, and I used to get offended by it. I didn't really care, but obviously most of my friends would laugh at me because I would say that the Wii is the superior console. Mind you, I had an Xbox 360, so it's not like I was only playing Wii games, but in between games of Halo and Call of Duty, I would tell them that the Wii is better. And while early on in the console's life, there were a few games that you could say somewhat compare to the ones on the 360 and the PS3, for the most part, the Wii was watered down in the same way that a mobile game would be watered down today. Or I guess, more appropriately, the way the Switch's looks would be watered down today. But when I got to this part of the game, nah dude, that's when I knew Nintendo was nothing but a bunch of magicians. They've shown it time and again since, but their ability to optimize the hardware that they build their games for is unrivaled in my opinion. To make these games look as good as they do on objectively weaker hardware is a feat that I feel like does not get enough praise. And I'm not going to try to sit here and claim that 1080p should be the peak, but even with a jump up to 4K, there will always be something grander and more superior. The benefit in Nintendo lagging in the way it does not only allows prices to remain lower than they otherwise would be, but it also allows you to show what those benchmarks in technology are capable of with proper optimization. Anyway, my point is Mario Galaxy is gorgeous. Mario runs towards Bowser. Bowser Jr. holds Peach hostage and fires a bunch of flaming fireballs towards Mario's direction. The iconic checkered pattern stairs breaks apart as Mario ascends, face to face with the same King of the Koopas that he has been fighting for generations at this point. The beast roars and sends him towards a small planetoid where Bowser turns himself into a boulder and attacks Mario. But you've done this. You just need to swing at the right time and you can send him flying and smack him again. He'll take you onto the next platform. And once again, you've done this. You just need to knock these plants into him so that you can send him on his back and then smack him yet again. He'll be slipping and sliding quickly, you just gotta know the trajectory. And then, when that's all said and done, you make it to the core, the center of the very universe. The universe you traveled around to collect 120 stars. The galaxies you explored across 6 different domes. All that you uncovered, all that you found, all that you saved. In most cases, Mario's just saving the Mushroom Kingdom, but this is much larger. There's a cosmic princess and an entire race of star creatures relying on him. His little minions have helped all that they could, his brother on his side throughout this journey, and you, the fanatic, the Mario lover, the 3D platformer champion, with a nunchuck in your left hand and a Wiimote in your right, you jump, you dodge, you lure, and you shake that Wii remote so hard that not only does the King of the Koopa collapse, but his entire empire dissolves and disintegrates in front of his eyes. Whether you've done this in the Mushroom Kingdom, in Dinosaur Land, in Peach's Castle, in Delfino Plaza, and everywhere in between, it's always the same outcome. With the perseverance of Mario, Bowser will always lose. And another hardcore generation of Mario fans will swear that this game is the best one. Just like we always do. There's still one more segment. Tomorrow we'll go over the conclusion.